right, guys, so got to have the colored pencils. As you can see, I have a few hundred right here. We're going to talk about that later. But I also wanted to point out that Crayola has particularly done a great job with this. It's called Colors of the World. This is a box of 24 different skin tones, and man, it is great to have. And I already have those mixed into these pencils, so whenever I come to a class or a party, I'm bringing these with me. But I just wanted you to see the box. I got these at Walmart. I think they sell them in a lot of different places. It's really helpful. I hope you have these. It's particularly helpful when you're working on skin tone. Here is another example that I was working on another day. I just want to show you. This is what you can achieve when you have the right materials. So between her hair color, her eye color, her lip color, and her skin color, it was all in this box, guys, and that's really important. So I'm going to pull out the colors that I need. Remember, you want to have a manual pencil sharpener. That's because an electric pencil sharpener will be destroyed by a colored pencil. They're made with wax. The wax fills up the teeth of your sharpener, and eventually it doesn't work anymore and you have to buy a new one. So if you want to avoid that, which I recommend, just do yourself a favor. Get a simple manual pencil sharpener. Sharpen your pencils and you don't have that problem. I want to pick out all the colors I'm going to choose. It really helps you. I've talked about that before. Yes, it's wonderful to have a giant container full of pencils, but it helps you if you have a plan. So I'm going to get some scrap paper right here, and I am going to go through these, and I'm going to pick out the colors that I know that I want. And I'm talking about the colors for her skin, her eyes, her hair, the background, all the things, the clothes, all the things. Okay, guys, so I have gone through my pencils, and I've chosen several of these that I think are going to work pretty well. So first of all, if you notice what I have here, I have several different tones that I can use for her skin and her hair. And so they range from like a really deep, dark, lovely. This one's black, but this is a really, really nice dark brown right next to it. You see how nice? It's very similar, but it's not exactly the same color. And then there's just all these different nice tones of browns, and they get lighter and lighter and lighter. And it's just really nice to have these as options. So we're going to use all of those to create her skin tone. And then, because the background of this is really quite simple, this is actually from her inauguration photograph. And so on this side we have the American flag, and on this side we have the state flag of California. The background I just made green just for fun, but there's a limited palette here, so we don't need every single color. Of course, you can make her clothes any color. You can do any kind of background you want, but for now, I'm going to make an example like this, and I just want you to see that it's a good idea to pick the colors out that you think are going to help you. So I have done that, and I've got this as a reference. I'm going to set this big giant tub of pencils aside because I really don't need that. Now I'm going to make some room for myself so that I have what I need and it's not crowded. So first things first, we know, right? She's got nice, deep, dark brown eyes. And there's also some shading on her face, and that's because everybody has light and shadow on their face. So remember, I talked about that nice dark color. So this is a really deep color. This is called Deepest Almond. I love the color names they chose. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add this really nice deep color. And I'm going to just make sure it stays on the left side of her eye. This is the iris, the colored part of her eye. I also want it to stay dark, but I don't want it to be quite as dark. So I'm going to use a slightly lighter color on this side. And it's barely noticeable, but it's just a little bit softer. And so what it does is it gives her eyes a little bit of a shiny look to them, as well as because of the fact that there's a white reflection mark there. Also, we're going to do some shading. And so we want to do the shading with a medium color. Her skin tone is kind of a medium brown. And so we want to start with some shading. And I've got my scrap paper here again. And I just want to remind myself what my colors are. So I would say that that is a pretty good medium brown. And these are slightly lighter, tanner colors. And when you overlap them, they start to look really nice. And that's pretty much almost the same thing. I also got sort of a lighter tone, because if you go back over the whole thing with this lighter tone, it kind of just blends it together. and creates that sort of nice, sort of medium tone skin. So that's really what I want to do. So these are my 3 colors. You don't have to have the exact same colors, but just have, like, for example, a few different shades. And so I'm going to push these over here. I'm going to take my darkest color first. And I have decided that the left side of her face is where the shadow is, okay? And so we don't have to make the shadows really, really dark, but this is where we're going to use this darker brown color, and we're going to go like this on the left side of her face. And what I want you to notice is where I pressed really hard on the eye color, I'm not pressing really hard on her skin color. But I am going to go ahead and bring that shadow down the left side of her face. I left a little extra spot there. It's going to be like a bright reflection there. But that is also the left side of her eye on this side. And a little bit darker right under her nose. A little bit darker right under her lip. And a little bit on this side, a little on this side. I'm not putting a shadow on everything, but I just want you to notice how I'm shading just mostly the left side of her face. And I'm doing it with kind of a light touch. I'm not pressing super hard, guys. That's important. All right. So I've created that shadow. And now I'm not going to press super hard, but I want to point out something to you. Do you see how I used most of the lead from this pencil? If you keep coloring until you get down to the wood and you keep on coloring, you're going to scratch your paper. And when you scratch your paper, it cannot be unscratched, guys. So it leaves grooves and marks on your paper, and it's not the end of the world, but let's avoid that. You have to be mindful. Stop yourself, sharpen it just enough to use again, and go back and color a little bit more. So what I want you to do, once you have that first layer of shadow down, I want you to press a tiny bit harder now, just on the very left side. And by doing this, we are going to create a deeper shadow. And it's just as much as we can control ourselves. I know it's tempting, but we're going to do it right on the left side as much as we can. And by the way, this is her skin also. So I'm going to bring this down here. Okay, looking good. I know there's a shadow up here, even though it's not the left side, it's kind of up there because of her hair. And of course, we all have shadows in our ears because we have holes in our ears so we can hear things. And I know that there's a little bit of a shadow here up above each eye from the crease of her eye. And that's a good start. So the next thing I want you to do is use your lighter pencil, right? This is sort of that medium color. This one's called Medium Golden. Again, I love the name of that. And so I'm not going to press super hard. I'm definitely not pressing really hard. But what I'm doing is I am now overlapping, which means I'm going right on top of the other color. And I'm just going to do it with a gentle touch, a nice gentle touch. I'm just sort of start to fill in with a very soft touch some of these areas of her face. So we have the shadow side, we have the light side. You have to overlap though. I think a lot of kids get confused. They think that this is the light side and that's the dark side and there's like a straight line in between them, but that is not how shadows work. So I definitely want you to overlap. Take those colors, go from one side to the other of her face. Do it gently, do it lightly. Do you see how I'm not pressing super hard? Another thing I've seen so many kids do is they forget about the ear. They forget about the neck. They forget about the rest of the skin. But guys, you got skin everywhere. So bring that skin tone down where it belongs, all the way down. Okay. So as you can see, I have carefully, gently filled it in. And I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to move on to my lighter color. Remember, this lighter color is a highlight color, but it goes over the whole thing. So this lighter color, I'm going to turn her upside down a little bit. This will make it easier. So we're going to start, just like we did the shadow on the right side, we're going to start with this highlight color. I'm sorry. we did the shadow on the left side, we're doing this highlight color on this side. And so, which is the right side, not to confuse anyone. But what I'm doing is I'm pushing a little tiny bit harder now. I am definitely pressing a little harder. And so I'm going to keep on now going over the whole thing. I'm going to take this softer color up around her eyes. I'm going to take it under her eyes. I'm going to go over her nose. All these things. Layer, layer, layer. I've talked about the layers before when we talk about paint or when we talk about oil pastels, but guys, it's not a one and done. When you're making art, you are using all of your skills. You're thinking about the blending, you're thinking about the layering. And you don't want to scribble, but you want to fill it in. So I am taking a moment, and here I am. I'm filling it up. All right, so that's looking pretty good. I would say it's not done yet, but it's a good start. As you can see, it's a little bit lighter in tone than this example, and you can change it up and make it any shade of brown you want. This is like a nice sort of rich, warm brown as well. You see how it's a little bit different? So if you want to darken it up, if you want to change the tone, remember just to do it incrementally. Incrementally means a little, I can't speak, a little at a time, a little bit at a time. And you will change it up. It'll get warmer. And by warmer, I mean this is more of like a sort of a caramely color. And you can see how it's changing. But it's not just by itself. It's mixing and it's blending. So guys, I'm going to keep doing this in time lapse. Working with colored pencil takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of, focus and concentration. So I really want you to watch this carefully and try some of these things out for yourself. It's really worth it. It looks really great when you finish, and then you have something that's just super nice. So I want you to take your time. Don't want you to scribble. I'm going to work on this some more on time lapse, guys. Here we go. Okay guys, so as you can see, I have finished coloring, and so it just is really, really fun to find ways to blend the colors for her hair and her skin tone. Think about ways you can sort of, use different colors in the background. I used like a skin tone plus sort of a pinky color. When I say pinky, I'm trying to find the exact shade I use, but it's really just, this turns into this lip color. You can kind of see how that works. So sometimes people make the lip color like bright red or, some kind of thing like that, and that's fine. But I think sometimes it's nice if they look a little bit more natural. So it's up to you. But that's how I handled it. You may have noticed also that I used a pencil, right? Just a regular old pencil to draw in the lines between the teeth. And that is just because it's not nearly as dark or as intense as a black colored pencil or even a gray. And you can also just kind of hit it real gently with the eraser to sort of really soften it up so that it's just barely there. That way it's not super, super bold. You don't want the teeth to look like they've got big black lines between them. Now remember guys, you can draw this over and over again. You can make, you can make this with whatever kind of materials you like. I mean, here's another example I just wanted to show you. So I did this one with colored pencil on her face and her hair, but then I used a marker for that background. So as you can see, they're both great. You can do them over and over again. This one I signed on the front, okay? And this one, I believe, yep, I signed on the back. So it's always good to make sure you sign it, put the date on it. In this case, I wrote Kamala Harris. I want to make sure, no one is ever confused about who this is, although she's pretty important, pretty famous. I don't think anyone's going to forget her anytime soon. I know I won't. All right, friends, it was super fun drawing with you today. I hope to see your drawings. You can send them to me by email, or let me know how it turns out in class, and I'll just see you soon. All right, bye-bye.